Welcome to the deep dive. We unpack complex topics, try to turn information into real understanding. And today we're diving into something that, honestly, much like the conversation around female pleasure, often gets buried under, well, misinformation. You know, stuff from pop culture, especially pornography, and just a general lack of open, honest talk about it. Our mission here is simple. Cut through that noise. Ignore the, let's say, unrealistic portrayals, and explore this not like some chore, but as maybe an art form, a powerful tool for intimacy, connection, and yeah, incredible pleasure.
Absolutely. It's exactly right. We're going to look at the philosophy behind it, the science, the anatomy, and then the actual artistry of fellatio.
Yeah. And
show that it's far more nuanced, much deeper than what you often see on screen.
Yeah.
Think of it like a thinking person's guide to his pleasure, moving beyond just the mechanics.
Okay, I like that frame. A thinking person's guide. So let's start there with the philosophy. Before we get into the how, what's the why, psychologically, what's going on? Why is this act so potent beyond just the physical sensation? Feels like there's more to it.
Oh, there definitely is. What's really fascinating is how it involves this intricate dance. Power, vulnerability, intimacy, it's all in there. So for the person giving, it can actually be an act of profound power, even control. You're the conductor, right? Setting the tempo, the rhythm, the intensity. That can feel incredibly empowering, a way to express desire, confidence. But at the same time, it's also an act of really generous service, devotion almost, a moment of focused, selfless giving, like physically saying, your pleasure is everything right now.
That's quite a duality, power and service together. Interesting. What about for the receiver? How does it feel from their perspective?
Well, for the receiver, it's often about complete surrender. I mean, think about it. They're placing one of their most sensitive, psychologically significant body parts entirely in your mouth, essentially. Mm-hmm. That takes immense trust. It really does. It's an act of letting go of control, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to be cared for. So if you connect those dots, you see it's not just, physical. It's this dynamic interplay, giving, receiving, power, surrender, trust, devotion. It's like a conversation without words.
A conversation. I like that. But that idea of complete surrender, it could also feel vulnerable, maybe even uncomfortably so for some receivers, right? A loss of control. How does the giver kind of create that safe space, make trust possible?
That is such a key point. It really comes down to communication, both spoken and unspoken. And starting gently with exploration. A giver who's really tuned in, they'll be reading cues, maybe checking in verbally, making sure there's this underlying feeling of care. Trust grows when the giver shows genuine attentiveness, basically signaling, hey, I'm here for your pleasure, not just ticking a box.
Okay, that makes sense. Building that trust is foundational. So with that psychological groundwork laid, let's get technical. You said you need to know the instrument to play it well. The penis seems simple, but you're saying it's complex. Where do people usually go wrong with the anatomy?
Yeah, the number one mistake, and it's a big one, is treating it like it's all the same, like one uniform thing. It absolutely is not. It has different textures, distinct zones of sensitivity. Understanding these is, well, everything. By far the most sensitive part is the frenulum. You know that little V-shaped bit of skin on the underside where the head connects to the shaft? That area is just packed with nerve endings. It's truly the command center for pleasure. Ignoring it. It's like trying to play a guitar by only strumming the tuning pegs. You're missing the actual strings.
Right. Okay. The frenulum, command center. Got it. What else?
Okay, so next up is the corona. That's the ridge, the sort of crown at the base of the head. Also very sensitive. And that head itself, the glands, is quite sensitive too, but the shaft, comparatively, much less so.
Okay, so frenulum, corona, head super sensitive, shaft less so. Knowing that, what does it tell us about those common portrayals we see in porn, for example?
Yeah.
It seems like they often get that backwards.
It tells us a lot, doesn't it? That frantic, piston-like motion, often involving deep throating, that you see so often, it's usually focusing all the energy on the least sensitive part, the deep shaft. And it often completely neglects the most sensitive parts, like the frenulum in the head. Sure, it might look dramatic on camera, it's visual, but in terms of actual neurological feedback for the guy, often it's just inefficient, really inefficient.
Yeah, it sounds like it's designed more for the viewer than the receiver sometimes. And that brings us to deep throating. That's another huge myth, isn't it? Perpetuated by porn.
Oh, absolutely. The whole idea that deep throating is the ultimate goal, the pinnacle. Well, for many people, it's physically uncomfortable or even impossible. Because of the natural gag reflex. Trying to force that could just kill the mood, kill the intimacy. It turns pleasure into a performance anxiety situation.
Yeah.
And here's the secret. You don't need your throat to give incredible pleasure. Not at all. your lips, your tongue, your hands. Those are your main instruments. They're way more versatile, way more important than your esophagus, frankly.
That really reframes things. Okay, so we have the philosophy connection, trust. We have the science, the sensitivity map. Now, how do we put it all together? The artistry, the how. For someone wanting to apply this, create that masterpiece, where's the starting block? What's hurdle number one?
Right, the practical side. Well, let's get the biggest potential buzzkill out of the way first. Teeth. Teeth are basically the enemy here. Being mindful of them, covering them with your lips, that's the classic technique for a reason. It works. It's pretty much step 0, non-negotiable.
Okay, cover the teeth, fundamental. Got it. Now, how do we actually begin? What's the opening move, the overture, as you put it?
The overture, yes. Okay, first thing, hands are your best friends, seriously. This is not just a mouth job. It's a head, hands, and mouth situation. Hands are your secret weapon. Use them maybe with some lube before your mouth even gets involved. Think a gentle, skillful hand job first. This does a couple of things. Builds arousal, obviously. But crucially, it lets you learn what your partner likes, speed, pressure, where to focus, without the added complexity of your mouth just yet. And the hands can stay involved the whole time. Caressing the testicles, the perineum, that spot between the genitals and anus, or just stroking the shaft creates a much fuller experience.
Right. Using hands to map the terrain first, build arousal, learn preferences.
Yeah.
Smart. Okay, so stage is set. What's the first movement when the mouth joins in?
The first movement, the warm-up. Lips and tongue take center stage, but gently. Start slow. This is discovery, remember, not a race. Explore with your tongue. Trace that corona, that ridge. Pay special attention to the frenulum. Maybe use the flat of your tongue for broad strokes, then the tip for more precise teasing. Use your lips for soft, gentle suction. It's like painting with sensation, building layers. Painting with sensation, nice. Okay, warmth established. How do we build from there? Get into the rhythm, the intensity. That brings us to the second movement, the dance of depth and pressure. Once arousal is clearly building, now you introduce more rhythm. Combine techniques. Vary your depth. This is key. Alternate between just focusing on that super sensitive head and taking more of the shaft into your mouth. That contrast, that in and out focused on different zones, can be incredibly arousing. And vary your speed. Slow, sensual, then faster, more intense, then maybe slow again. Monotony is the enemy of arousal. The brain loves novelty. Keep it interesting, dynamic, unpredictable even. Oh, and use your cheeks. You can create really good suction by hollowing your cheeks slightly. Gives that tight, wet feeling lots of guys love. And here's a pro tip, the twist. Try a gentle twisting motion with your hand at the base while your mouth works the tip. That dual sensation. Fantastic.
Wow. Okay, lots of techniques to play with there. Variety is key. So as things intensify, heading towards the peak, the crescendo, how do you stay connected? Guide them effectively.
Right, the third movement, the crescendo. This is all about listening and responding. Communication, verbal and nonverbal, is crucial now. Listen to their breathing. Is it getting faster, shallower? Feel their body react through your hands. Are their hips starting to buck, muscles tensing? And listen to their words. A simple yes or keep doing that is gold. It's the clearest direction you'll get. When you sense they're getting really close, try to identify the technique that seems to be working best right then. That one thing pushing them over the edge. Find it and stick with it. Give them that consistent, steady rhythm right at the end. Helps them cross the finish line.
Finding that sweet spot and holding it makes sense. And then the grand finale itself, the question. To swallow or not to swallow? This comes up a lot, often with unspoken pressure.
It really does, and it shouldn't. Look, this is purely a personal choice. There should be absolutely zero pressure either way, none. The only right answer is the one you've both discussed beforehand and genuinely enthusiastically agreed on. Having that conversation ahead of time just removes all that last-minute anxiety or awkwardness. It ensures the whole experience right to the very end feels good, comfortable, and respectful for everyone. It boils down to trust and a comfort, not fulfilling some expectation.
So it comes back to communication and respect, like everything else?
Exactly. In the end, truly great fellatio. It's not about, gag reflexes or jaw stamina. It's about enthusiasm, attention, creativity, approaching it with a spirit of giving.
Yeah, understanding you're playing this complex, beautiful instrument with your mouth, lips, hands. It's generous, it's powerful, it's intimate. Builds on that trust we talked about. Precisely. And when you approach it with that philosophy, that focused, enthusiastic giving, the mechanics sort of fade into the background. They become intuitive. It's more like a dance. You stop worrying so much about, am I doing this right? And you start focusing on what feels good right now. For them. For me.
And that shift in focus, that's really what makes the difference, isn't it? Between just going through the motions and creating something genuinely unforgettable. So maybe the thought to leave you with is, What happens when you view this intimate act not as a duty, but as this dynamic interplay of trust, creativity, and connection? How might understanding the why, the what, and the how transform things, leading to deeper, more rewarding experiences for everyone involved? Something to think about.